credible testimony. Don't let this day be an indication of how.
So boring. This sounded my third day.
Yeah, I mean,
The first 3 days are all like this. Oh, the elevator was funny.
the what?
The camera part that was working with Al.
Today is November 30th, 1995. This is an interview with Walter J. Lowenstein. The interviewer is Dan Danieli. We are in the Bronx, New York, United States. The language is English.
My name is Dan Danieli. That's D-A-N-I-E-L-I. Today's date is November 30, 1995. The survivor's name is Walter J. Lowenstein. The interview is conducted in Bronx, New York, USA, in the English language. What is your name, please?
Walter J. Lowenstein.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Lowenstein.
Is that the same name as it was when you were born?
Yes, except that in Germany it was L-O umlaut,
That's-
W-E-N, and I put the E in when we arrived here, when we immigrated.
Did you use any other names?
No,
And did your family or friends use a nickname for you?
yes, when I was 9 years old, no, generally not. That was only temporarily. Later on too, yes. But
What is your date of birth?
April 15, 1900.
And that would bring you to what age today?
I beg your pardon?
What age are you today?
95 years old.
And in what city and country were you born?
In Riedberg in Germany.
Could you spell Riedberg, please?
R-I-E-T-B-E-R-G
Where is Riedberg located?
in Westphalia,
Between what large places? What are the closest
near
large cities?
Bielefeld. Near Bielefeld. Münster is the capital of was the capital of Westphalia. I don't know whether it's still today.
And how big a town was your hometown?
My hometown, very small, maybe 3,000 inhabitants.
How many Jews out of the 3,000? Approximately.
Is that how many Jews? Well, at what time that when I was a child, there might be, we were alone 8, 16, 20. In the beginning, it might be still about 30 people.
That comprises just your family or other Jewish families?
No, including other families. We were 8. My parents and 6 children.
And in your household, in addition to the 8, did anybody else live? Grandparents or uncles?
When I was born, my grandfather was still alive for 2 years. He was living there. But then the children were not born yet.
And did he live in your house, in your home?
Yes, in the same house where he has lived and where his forefathers have lived for hundreds of years.
Where did your parents come from?
My father was born in Riedberg too. My mother comes from Hofgeismar in Hessen. Hofgeismar, near Kassel.
So both of them were born in Germany.
Yes.
How long back can the family trace its origin within Germany?
Within Germany, I would have to look it up. I can look it up exactly. They came by way of Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Germany.
And your grandparents on both sides, were they all born in Germany?
In Germany, yes.
That means at least 3 generations have been born
Oh,
in Germany.
longer than that, yes. Much longer than that.
How was your Jewish background in your home? Was it traditional, Orthodox?
My mother comes from the Orthodox family. My father was more liberal, and gradually mother became also more liberal. But we had we kept to the Jewish, to the we kept the kitchen, milking and fleishing separate in the beginning.
So it was a kosher
It
household.
was a kosher household,
in
yeah,
the beginning.
in the beginning. But later on we were not so exact anymore.
And your grandparents, were they much more traditional?
I don't know, but probably. The grandparents from mother's side, yes. They were still strict. I remember my grandfather from my mother's side, I don't forget that, it made a deep impression on me. I didn't know anything about the Jewish laws. My grandfather came visiting us on a Friday, and on Saturday morning my older sister wanted to do something nice for him. She picked some flowers in our garden and gave him the flowers, and he refused to take them because they were picked on the Shabbos.
And
And
did he explain
he did.
to you?
I don't, of course, probably I was still a child, but I was very offended by that. Yeah, that is just a little thing that I remember. So, but it was, it's still, he shouldn't have done it.
What did your parents do? What was their occupation?
My father had a printing plant and paper, wholesale paper.
Was he the owner of the business?
Rickman?
Was he the owner of the business?
Yes.
And your mother?
My mother had enough to do with her 6 children and her household, and she was helping my father also in the office occasionally.
Are you the eldest of the 6
I beg
children?
pardon?
Are you the oldest one from the 6
I am
children?
the oldest boy. I had an older sister. I'm the second born.
And what other siblings did you have?
I have brother and sister, twins, who were born 2 years later after me, and another sister was born in 1906, and my youngest brother 1910.
Can you remember back to your first school years?
Yes,
Did you go to public school or
to
to
get
Jewish
to
school?
3 years to public school, and it was something from 6 to 9 years, and at 9 years I was something special. Usually children went to the pro-gymnasium, to the gymnasium in Riedberg when they were 10 years old. But I must have been a especially good pupil, and I had to make a special examination. They accepted me 9 years old in the gymnasium.
And the
I
gymnasium,
was the youngest one, and that's where my special name came in. They called me Benjamin. I was the smallest and the youngest. And
And that-
Benjamin was the youngest son of,
that gymnasium, was that in the same town?
was in the same town, yes. The
And
same town used to be an important town before. It was the capital of a grafschaft, of a count, I don't know the exact translation, Grafschaft Riedberg Kaunitz. And Graf Kaunitz was on the court of Maria Theresia in Austria.
And how many years did you go to school, to the second school?
6 years to the end of that didn't go on. That's why it was called Pro-Gymnasium. The real gymnasium goes 9 years.
And after the pro-gymnasium,
I went to the full gymnasium in Paderborn.
how far away was Paderborn?
For about 30 kilometers, that is 18 miles or something, about,
And
yeah.
Where did you live when you went to Paderborn? In the school? Was it in
Where I
school?
lived
Yes.
in Paderborn, no, I lived I had a room there with people and ate in a Jewish pension, pension, yeah.
And after Paderborn, after that period of school,
I was in the German army for half a year in
that was what year?
1918,
At the end of World War
at
I?
the end of World War One, yes, from 21st of June to 9th of, until this war was out, I think, 9th of November or something. Half.
Did you attain any rank in the German army?
No, oh, did I?
Did you attain any
Oh,
rank?
no, I was only 5 months there.
And what did you, which part of the army have you been in?
I was stationed in Strasbourg in Elsass-Lorraine. That at that time belonged to Germany.
And what, in the infantry? Was it infantry? that
No,
you
it was
were?
field artillery.
And after you got out of the army, when World War I ended, what
Yeah,
did you do?
while I was in the army in Strasbourg, I immatriculated already at the University of Strasbourg. It was recommended to me. I didn't hear a single lecture, but I was at the same time officially a student. I was accepted. I was student of medicine,
That
but
was in
but I didn't study.
That was in Strasbourg?
It was in
University of
Strasbourg, yeah,
Strasbourg.
yeah. But then when the war was at the end of war, I studied dentistry in Münster in Westphalia.
How many years?
2 years there and other 2 years in Freiburg, in what is Baden in southern Germany.
And
And there I graduated
there you graduated with for dentistry?
for dentistry, yes.
And did you open a practice in Germany? A
Oh
dental
yeah, of course,
practice?
yes, not immediately. First I was an assistant with 3 other dentists in the 3 other offices. In 1926 I opened my own office. I graduated in 1922. That was I was relatively young because having been a soldier, I had the privilege to study, have another semester studying during the vacation time. That was only for Kriegsteilnehmer, for participants of the war, and then since Strasbourg was in the war zone, I was considered a participant of the war, Kriegsteilnehmer.
A veteran.
A veteran, yes, yeah.
Going back to your home, where you lived with your parents, did you speak any other language than German at home?
At home, no.
Did you learn any other language?
Of course, yes, I learned.
What did you learn?
Old Latin, Greek,
In school?
in school, yeah. Greek, French and English.
And at home you spoke only German?
Only German. And I learned with a Hebrew teacher, I learned some Hebrew, but only had to translate only the regular prayers or something like that. I didn't learn to speak Hebrew.
Was that within the religion?
I beg your pardon?
The teaching of religion
Yes.
included the Hebrew language?
Yes,
Was that in school or private?
that was private, but it was required by the school. The school was very religiously inclined, and we got even in our year's end report, we got whether it was 1 to 5, etc. Whether religion good or medium or bad, so it was requested. And later on, 3 years later, the school was even interested that the pupils went to services. In other words, on the end there was Kirchenbesuch, that going to the church. It was, in my case, when I came there in the first year, I got very bad, they said, very bad, because the boy who was writing down the names who came to Friday evening service never saw me there, so it was very bad, the Kirchenbesuch. In reality, I lived opposite the Jewish orphanage, and they called me to have minyan several times a week and every Friday evening. In other words, I had better Kirchenbesuchs than anybody else,
That
but I
means
didn't do anything
you
about
went
it.
to service, but not at the place where they expected
Not in the
you to
official
be.
synagogue, but in the little
Orphanage.
orphanage, yeah.
Did your parents attend synagogue?
Occasionally, the synagogue was not in Riedberg. There was no synagogue in Riedberg. Riedberg belonged to Riedberg Neuenkirchen. In the synagogue was in Neuenkirchen. It's in the meantime, it's all eingemeint, it's all one city. Riedberg, I don't find out, that's all Neuenkirchen belongs to Riedberg now.
And your parents went only for
We
the
went mostly only for the holidays, and we
and
too, the children too.
did you
We
ever
did not never went to Friday evening or Shabbos services because we had to attend school.
did your parents ever discuss with you Zionism or Palestine?
No,
Was that a
they were
subject?
not, we were not Zionists, they were deutsche Staatsbürger jüdischen Glaubens, German nationals of the Jewish faith. And I was educated that I didn't know it differently. First, it came to me when I was a soldier. I had a cousin who was a Zionist, and he was in the, by the way, he died in France as a soldier. But he had asked his friends in Strasbourg, while I was a soldier there, to contact me, to get me to make Zionists out of me.
Did he succeed?
And no, they did not succeed. I was a soldier, I was only 18 years old, just 18. And there suddenly somebody called for me and picked me up. I was a sergeant and I was only I felt very honored, and when we came together with the other Zionist soldiers there, with a lieutenant or even more, I don't know, I felt we were so educated, they were very high. I felt a little thing, but then once one of the Zionists took me once to a ball game or something. I think a football game, I forgot. And at the end of the game, they sang the German national hymn. And before they did that, he took me out, let's go out, so that we didn't have to sing that. And that struck me, it was against my feelings. I was brought up in that little town, and I belonged to the Germans as a German.
When did you first encounter?
The same as you feel American, I felt German.
When did you first encounter, if ever, anti-Semitism in your school years?
Not in Riedberg, not at all, not that I know of. No, but my father told me that something had gone on there in Riedberg a long time ago, when anti-Semite was there and got some people together, and the Jews let an organ, what is this, organ
Organ
grinder, yeah, play there in front of the house to make some noise.
But you yourself in school did not
No, not
see
in
or
school.
feel
I
any
didn't. No,
anti-Semitism?
not that I know of. Not that I noticed. No.
Did your parents talk to you about German anti-Semitism?
I knew about it, and I knew about. I must have learned something about it. I knew about pogroms in Poland and Russia, but in my mind I couldn't imagine that it would ever occur in our time. Everybody was friendly. My brothers were very active with the other boys in Riedberg, with sport organizations, etc. They were very much liked.
German sport organization?
Yeah. There was nothing specially Jewish there. My father was very angesehen, was he honored in that town.
Did you or your brothers belong to any Burschenschaft? Any of the student
As a student, I belonged to a fraternity. Yes, I still do. It still exists here in New York, in the world. Yeah,
What
the
kind of
KC fraternity.
What kind of a fraternity was that, and is
Was
that?
also was German fraternity of Jewish faith.
It was only for Jews, or were
It
there
was only
non-Jewish
for
members?
Jews, yes.
And did they fight with the non-Jewish fraternities?
It happened, yes. There was, yeah. There I learned about anti-Semitism as a student in Münster.
And
There something there, some anti-Semitic acts happened,
that was during your university
and that was
years.
even a fraternity that had fights. The fights were added in mensur. What is it called? In the fighting, with
With
saber
swords, with
fighting.
sabers.
Yeah.
But
I never did it, but I learned to.
that was only during the university years, or before
That was
too?
that
Before that too, or only during the university years?
only during the university years. Yes.
And did you personally have any fights?
Can you speak a little?
Did you personally have any fights with other
No, I didn't have
fraternities?
anything. No, I didn't remember. Do not remember that I had any difficulties there.
Now, after you graduated from dental school,
That was it
where did you open your practice?
in Hamburg.
Was it your own practice, or did you go in
I was
partnership?
for 3 years. I was working with other dentists in that city. Then I opened my own practice.
Did you have only Jewish patients or non-Jewish
Oh no, I had
patients too?
I had more, very few Jewish patients. In the beginning, in the last, later on, after Hitler came to power, I could not practice there anymore because they lost the Krankenkassen, the insurances, and I moved to an area where there were more Jews were living.
Were you still allowed to practice after Hitler came to power?
I was allowed until all the physicians and dentists lost their license to practice medicine or dentistry. First the physicians, and on the 31st of January 1939, the dentists. I remember on that evening of the 31st of January, I dismantled all my instruments, my entire office, in order not to be moved by any patients to do something after the 1st of February, because it was not allowed. I didn't have the license anymore. I couldn't do it.
Can you remember back how Hitler came to power? How it occurred to you personally that
Oh,
Hitler
yes.
is coming to power?
It was terrible.
Were there
So
elections?
the first day, right away, I was all prepared. I saw the police on horseback going through the city with their Hakenkreuz armbands.
That was in Hamburg.
That was in Hamburg, yes.
Yes.
And but these people said, and we thought, there will not be long. That they will be in power.
Before they came to power, was there any feeling that that's going to happen?
We didn't expect that he would get 52% of the vote. That he get. He was elected only with 52%.
And before the elections, you did not expect it at all, that it could happen?
No, can you make it a little louder? Pull it down. Might be that the battery gets weak.
Before the elections, you did not foresee any such possibility?
No, we didn't expect it, no.
And when the election results were made public, was there an immediate
They're not against the Jews immediate. Yeah, I think the lawyers were lost their license right away. There was on the 1st of April, there was a big boycott against Jewish businesses. And I remember my father was at that time in Münster, and there was Nazis, SA men standing in front of department store, and but he said the constitution was still in force, so he said nobody can prevent me from going in, and he tried it, but he was kicked by the Nazi, by the people there.
And you personally, did you feel anything?
No, we heard of some casualties that happened to a fraternity brother of mine who was killed on that day, who also, who of the fault he didn't let it to happen to his house or to his father's business, or something happened that was in Kiel. I remember even his name.
When Hitler came to power, were all your brothers and sisters still in Germany? Or did any
We
of
were
them
all
leave?
in Germany, yeah.
They were
The
all in
family
Germany.
were all in Germany, yeah. All people.
Did they, at this point, did they talk about leaving Germany? Did you talk with your parents about it?
Whether they lived,
Well, when Hitler came to power,
yeah.
did you discuss?
Leaving Germany?
Leaving
No,
Germany?
no, no. No, yeah, we thought about it. Some people left, but we couldn't imagine that something would happen to us. People, also friends and non-Jewish people, assured us nothing will happen to you. Said, gestrenge Herren regieren nicht lange. Can you translate it?
That the strong people don't stay in power
Yeah,
too
for a
long.
long time, yeah.
And you believed that at that
Well,
time?
we believed it, yes. We always thought it will, they said that by Christmas everything will be over.
And
So, but
how did the anti-Jewish laws slowly affect your day-to-day life?
it was terrible to read the slogans, the anti-Semitic slogans. And later it got worse. Traveling, we saw Juden sind hier nicht erwünscht. Jews are not desired in this town, or something like that. All kinds of terrible things that I'm surprised now. I cannot understand that we didn't see all these signs to let us leave Germany before. On the other hand, if we would have left Germany before, we would have gone to Holland or Belgium or France, and we might have been caught there later on.
Did your father still have his business?
Did you?
Your father still had his business?
Yes, he had his business to the end.
November 30th, 1995. The survivor's name is Walter J. Lowenstein. What did you do in Hamburg after you lost your license to practice dentistry?
At that time, we had already prepared our emigration, and it was shortly thereafter that we left Germany.
How did you prepare for the immigration, and how did it come about?
During our last vacation in summer 1938, we got a letter from my sister and brother-in-law who had emigrated shortly before from the United States that they we didn't have any relatives here in the United States, not anybody whom we knew. They were relatives. And they offered us an affidavit not of their own alone, because